Good afternoon, fellow Gunas. Welcome to another Gunner Talk. It's your boy, Si, aka the Mancunian. Big news just in. Now, I haven't got any party poppers or streamers, but what I do have is a vuvuzela from South Africa, so... 50 subs, guys! Celebrate! Celebrate! You wonderful people. I've hit the little old milestone of 50 subs on my channel, so thank you very much, guys. Keep up with the love and support, even if it's just some constructive criticism. You just throw me one like a week, have your notifications on YouTube, on my channel, subscribe, retweet, quote tweets, like tweets, whatever it is, guys, keep doing it, please, because I need all the support I can get from you guys. So much love to you if you have supported. Keep it up, because I massively appreciate it, guys, really do. It means an absolute ton to me. You just won't understand that, but it means a massive amount to me. Just one more subject before I get on to the questions you guys have sent in this week. I had a little DM from the Guna podcast. I didn't know what to make of it at first until I read it. I didn't know if it was just one that they just automatically send out. And it's for the website. It's gunasvscancer.com. And they asked me, could I get involved a little bit, showing some support. So I've donated. You guys that know me pretty well know my mum's currently battling cancer for the 4th time now in the last few years. Which is it's making my life a lot harder and a lot more stressful than it normally is, because I'm not somebody who gets particularly stressed out, but this motherfucker needs kicking to the curb. So if I can do anything to help that, in any small little way, in my world, I will do. So guys, please do the same. We all know somebody, or we've all been affected ourselves by this truly awful disease, and it needs getting rid of. My mum's been battling it off and batting it away. I don't know why it thinks it's got a chance against the Salford bird, but it hasn't. And it won't be taken at this time either, trust me. But come on, guys, you don't even, even if you can't bring yourself, if you're just someone who doesn't like to donate, at least get onto their Twitter or the website, throw them a retweet. Every little helps. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't look at it if you can only give £1 or 50p. Pennies make pounds. If we all contributed 50p or £1, to cancer research and so on, the world would be a much better place. So please, guys, get behind these guys, and I'll continue to do so and help I can. Right, that's the serious stuff done. Let's crack on with Guna Talk. Not going to say it's going to be any more light-hearted, but let's get into the questions. First and foremost, more Torreira talk. Are you starting to get worried? No. For me, the only difference from this week to last week, whenever there was that Torreira interview, and then the report of him saying about he was struggling to integrate himself into life in England and the culture and the weather, nothing's moved along for me. So my feelings on it are no different to what they were when I read that interview, which is, in 2 or 3 years' time, this worries me. Right now, no, it doesn't. I saw it today where somebody, I think it was AFTV, tweeted something about Torreira, and the comments underneath honestly disgusted me. The amount of people that, through the words of, second-rate Z-list Italian journos, are now turning on one of our best players. I find it completely mind-blowing. Fuck off, you midget, fucking Uruguayan knobhead, and all the rest. I just don't get it, guy, and you should be really embarrassed with yourselves, because you're taking words of a complete fucking idiot who's got you by the balls because he knows you're a simpleton, over a player who actually shows passion and fight towards our team, and he's one of our best players, who has said nothing that comments that I would happily make myself, being an Englishman from this culture. As I said in my other video, I think the weather's shit, the food's not great, and most regional dialects I struggle to understand. So I'm with him on that one. I don't get that as a reason for immediate alarm bells to be going off and he wants to leave. And like I say, nothing's happened. All that's happened from those comments is a week's passed, loads of shite journalists have talked rubbish, and you've suddenly decided that he's definitely leaving and he wants to leave and that we should just get rid of him because we don't want players that aren't down for the cause. Fucking hell, guys, honestly, sort it out. You know, very similar to my comments I made on Nico Shearer. You know, he's just putting 2 and 2 together and coming out with 5, knowing you lot will lap it up like a dehydrated cat. You know, it's just embarrassing. You know, Torreira, you know, that's where all this Italian bullshit's come from me, because we've had success in buying in. It's a market a lot of us don't know a great deal about, you know, and who's credible and who isn't in Italian journalism. And so these guys are coming up with a bit of bullshit, tying it to something that could be a little bit factual, adding the fact that most of you will buy any shit that someone puts under your nose, put it all together, and you know, your heads are falling off, and I just find it completely embarrassing. You know, I would get it if we had news of he has now come out and said, yeah, I meant those comments and I need to leave now. I'm really unhappy and I don't feel like I could possibly give 50% of my energy to something that I don't want to be here. And AC Milan have come up with a £60 million bid, then fine, I'm fine with that. And yeah, he's got to go, but we're a million miles away from that scenario, so I just don't get it, guys. And I am incredibly confident if you want to come up with some sort of forfeit, I guarantee you that Lucas Torreira will be an Arsenal player next season, no two doubts in my mind. And like I say, it's just more waffling from Z-list reporters from Italy that know they can get a rise out of you. So just stop giving them the time of day, guys, and then all this bullshit goes away and they'll go and find another fan base to try and, you know, plant earworms and get you, you know, bait you as easy as they manage to do. And a lot of it for me, it just comes from the Gianpaolo link, the fact that he's gone there. He's just, well, he's come out and said that he's a bit unsettled in England. Here's his coach who's now gone to AC Milan, even Casillas, bosh, all together. A little bit of truth to it, but it's still absolute bullshit for me, so I don't really care. You know, and I saw this AC Milan are going to make an assault on Arsenal Football Club for Torreira, and I thought, that's like me. You know, what position are they in to make an assault on us, you know, an actual wealthy club? You know, it'd be like me, I don't know, taking a bag of coppers down to the Gucci shop and trying to do an assault on them. You know, it's not going to happen, is it? The two don't add up. You know, and these rumours as well are embarrassing. An €8 million loan fee for 2 years, and then we get €38 million at the end of it. I mean, come on, guys. That's around the money we paid for him. Do you really think, I mean, I can understand why you don't have much trust in us, but do you really think we are that bad at business that a guy that has got still 3 or 4 years on his contract, we would just let leave for what we paid for him? No. I don't have a ton of faith in us, but I have more faith in us than that, and I think you'd have to start at 50 plus before we'd even be open to the idea of getting rid of him, and then I still think we'd want for him to say, I need to leave, before we'd even consider it. So no, not worried in the slightest, just embarrassed by, just again, it's just another example of being embarrassed by our fan base rather than anything else. That's all I took from it. Next one, Tierney, Kieran Tierney. News is hotting up. Do you think this will actually happen? Yeah, I do. I'm a firm believer in this. It'll definitely happen over the next few weeks. And mainly because there's been an actual bid. You know, guys, you know my issue with it. I love transfer rumours. I love all the bullshit and all the talk. And, you know, I don't care how ridiculous and tedious some of this stuff is. I take it with a pinch of salt and a laugh. Whereas some of you take it as fact every time. Well, what you can take as fact is the fact we've actually bid for Kieran Tierney, so that turns this from more of a rumour to something with some substance and something that you get excited and you can get behind, because we're actively trying to get this player that you know for definite we are actively trying. You know, and the same more bullshit, people saying, you know, well, we've agreed wages with him, can't happen because we've not agreed a fee. I'm not going over this again, but that's illegal, guys, can't happen, that's tapping up. So don't buy into any rumours that we've already agreed fees and you know, bonuses and wages with him. That's not happened yet, but I don't think that will be a problem. You know, I think we could easily match or outdo what Celtic are paying him without breaking the bank. So yeah, I've got a lot of faith in this one happening. You know, there's a bit of mumblings come out that he's sort of got an unspoken agreement for 22 million. I'm not so sure about that, but I think around that number will do it. And it was really interesting that a few weeks ago I said, you know, he'd be my number one choice and I would look to throw them Jenkinson and maybe Nketiah on loan and then a rumour came out a few days later that that's the sort of thing that we're maybe looking at. I think that's really clever to do. It'll help us in the long run and ease the financial spend straight away. So I'm all behind that sort of deal, and especially if we can use someone like Jenko, who we want rid of anyway, as a make weight, and then give them a youth player that would help them progress and help us progress in future by giving them first team decent level football. Like say Eddie or Mavro would be a good choice for me. I wouldn't mind seeing a Saka or an Amici go there. I'd rather Nelson and Emile Smith-Rowe went somewhere, no disrespect to Celtic, but to a more competitive, higher up league than that. But for some of them 17-year-olds or the younger lads, I'd be interested. And like I say, Eddie, I think he could do a roaring trade over in Scotland. I think he'd definitely be bagging 15 plus goals this year, and that would massively help us in the future. Maybe give us an idea towards a replacement for Aubameyang when he goes, and someone who can chip in with some goals. But yeah, I'm all for this, and I think in and between 20-25 million, plus one or two players thrown in, Jenko, like I say, permanent maybe, and then a youth player in on loan. I think that'd be a cracking deal for both. I've seen some Celtic fans say, why would he go to Arsenal? We're a small club, we're not very... Come on guys, that's bitter talk. I had an argument with a Celtic fan the other week, this was weeks ago now. Celtic is a bigger club than Arsenal worldwide. In terms of football, they're light years behind. So I don't get that, and this talk of, well, he should be 50 million. No, not in a minute. Why? I can't think of many right backs, left backs, wing backs that are worth that kind of money at the moment, because you'd be taking a punt on all of them. You can say with Tierney, I'm a real big fan of his, and he would be my first choice left back that we could get in, but not for 50 million, and probably not for 40 million. 20 to 30 is exactly what I would spend on him, and exactly what I think we will spend on him. Other concerns people saying about his injury record's not great. If you actually look into it a bit more, it's not as bad as it first seems. A lot of these injuries it's very similar to Umtiti's setup, where these injuries have come at a cost because he's played too much and his unwillingness to sit a game out, and that I can applaud that, because I think we'd make him think and not give him a choice where he's using his heart over his head. We would take that decision out of the scenario for him. So I don't see that being a massive problem at all, and he still banged in 40 odd games I think last year, so with all this, so that's not a reason to be put off for me. So yeah, I think this is the first one to get excited about, and one that for me is definitely going to happen. There's just another part to this question. If we make that happen, what more do we need? Well, it's like I say, guys, you've got to weigh up need and want. What do I want? I want a third choice goalkeeper, someone young. I want a backup right back, somebody really under 20. Probably the same with the goalkeeper, under 20. I want a mid-20s experienced centre back then with a younger centre back. We need two left backs, a first choice and a backup. I really want a box-to-box midfielder. Someone that either young or a bit more experienced. Probably someone a bit more experienced because we've got some young box-to-box mids and two wingers. That's what do I think we need minimum after Tierney? A centre back, a box-to-box mid, and a winger. That's the minimum I would accept this window. The bare minimum. But I do believe we need more. But I think a lot of my needs are players out rather than players in, which I'll touch on in a minute. But yeah, that's that one for me. We need a lot more than just Kieran Tierney, don't we? I think we can all agree on that. But it'd be a great start to the window. Next question: VAR pandemonium. How VAR is VAR enough? Oh, guys, don't start with the puns. That's my job. Am I impressed with the way it's being used in the Women's World Cup and the controversy it's causing? Obviously, it's causing massive controversy. When it came in the Men's World Cup, I really enjoyed it. I thought it brought a different aspect to the game, build a bit of excitement, the uncertainty of is it, isn't it? I like that. I'm a fan of VAR because I'm sick of shitty cheating and diving and just really poor decisions. But my issue is with VAR at the minute is they're not being eradicated still, because that's the officials, you know, that's not what's been sorted for me. The problem why VAR came in is because the officials aren't good enough and they're making too many mistakes. But then what we're doing is giving them a computer system where they're still being allowed to make the same mistakes, just with video evidence. And that's my big issue with it, is you know, I keep seeing people saying VAR's a load of shit, VAR's a load of shite, it's fucking useless. It's not. The system itself, the computer system, works perfectly. If you use that as your only guideline, it's perfect. It is then now still coming down to somebody's interpretation of the rules or personal judgment, and that's my issue with it. It's the system I have no issue with at all, and it raises concern for me of why we haven't just used somebody else's already established system. Why have we got such a primitive system in place? That's something I really can't get my head around. Why we've not just used the rugby model, which is referee, microphoned up, one guy in a van on the car park looking at monitors, or however many people you want, and it's a general consensus of them that all know the rules inside out. For me, it should never, the final decision shouldn't be going back to the referee, because then it's up to him whether he's using VAR or not, so that makes it obsolete for me, completely pointless. And for me, that final decision should be took out the referee's hand. Like I say, very similar to the rugby, where, you know, referee, right, I believe that's a yellow card and a penalty. Let me know what you think, guys, and give me a ruling on it. You know, and then it comes up on the big screen or whatever, and the referee can have another look himself and go, right, I've got that wrong or whatever, or they make the decision. It just needs streamlining and working all about, you know. Somebody mentioned to me about the England women's game against Cameroon and what a mess that was. You know, we're getting like 10 minutes on average added to these games. That to me can be eradicated pretty quickly. I mean, it's sort of a goal's going in or a decision's happening, then the referee's sort of spending 2 minutes having a chat with whoever it is working the VAR. Then they're going, right, let's have a look. Then they're spending another 5 minutes having a look. That shouldn't be happening. I don't really believe the referee should be going and looking at a monitor. That decision shouldn't be theirs. Why is the person who's working VAR not at the right level of judgment to be able to make the decision for the referee, or just back up the referee's initial decision? That's what I can't get my head around. And you know, like I say, for me, the big problem is still we've got absolutely pants officials. That was the problem before VAR, why VAR came in, and it's still the problem with VAR, is that a lot of the officials don't know their arse from their elbow. And you know, she was a perfect example, the referee in that in the England-Cameroon game. She had no control over what was going on. You know, and I saw it when it was, I think it was the Ellen White goal at just around half time, and the Reds fell off completely, and they looked like they were sort of having a conflab and a huddle where they were deciding that we're just not playing this. You know, they were in tears. They felt like the world was against them, maybe, and I know there was a mention of racism to it. That was ridiculous. You know, playing the race card for me, if that was a bit any fact towards that, if that's what they were trying to claim. You know, just sore losers. Everyone's getting you know, hit with the same shitty stick when it comes to VAR, so I don't think there's anyone being treated more unfairly than anyone else. You know, it just might feel like that at times, but for me it was down to the referee. She had no control. You know, there was Cameroon players pushing her out of the way, and you know, she was keeping her cards in her pockets, maybe in fear of losing total control, but losing control and attempting to take control is a lot better than just letting people run around and having no control whatsoever and not even attempting to you know, play a part in it. And for me, when I was watching it, I thought, why because it seemed to be as soon as the players saw something on the big screen, and that's when they really went, this isn't fair, you know, look at this, and they were all sort of gesturing towards the big screen. Why then the referee didn't say, captain over here, manager or coach, whatever you want to call him, over here, right, take them over to that screen that she's watched and go, look, there it is, the line offside, right, you've got 30 seconds to get back playing this game, or I will forfeit it, or I will book every player. Make your mind up, because I am taking the choice off you. And you know, and if they don't make the mind up, then just blow the whistle and let England kick off again. And then, you know, that's just more humiliating for them. And that's what I thought was really embarrassing. Is there was talk during the game that, you know, Cameroon are a bit short for money in the women's game. And I thought their attitude, you know, I thought Phil Neville's comments were pretty on the money with, not bringing the game into disrepute, but it was embarrassing. This is the pinnacle of women's football. It's moving on a million miles an hour at the moment, and then this was like a real backward step of just really poor. It was like the kid putting the ball under arm and I've been goalie for 3 hours now. It's not fair. I'm going home. It's my ball. Really not good, and that they should be very ashamed of themselves. And what I found was counterproductive was that right at the start of the second half, they got that goal. So what they should have focused on was, even though it was disallowed correctly, we can get a goal, we can score against these. They should have focused on, these are rattled, we can get back in this match. Everyone's unsettled by this. And instead they chose to sulk. And now they'll probably get a fine from UEFA, the FA, whoever it is, FIFA. So it's counterproductive and just really piss poor behaviour, and they should hang their heads in shame. It was disgusting. Like Phil said, they've been warned about this. This is how it's going to work. It's the same for everybody. So suck it up and get on with it. And they should have done. So I am a fan of VAR, but the system needs streamlining and looking at, and the personnel that are using it need looking at big time. Because that's still the problem for me, is the personnel, not the system. So yeah, I'm a fan of VAR. I'm not a fan of officials. Still, they're still official-ish shit. Next one. We're only a week off from July. Am I concerned more about outs or ins? I'm not really concerned about ins yet, although I'd like some by now, but that's in an ideal world. I'm massively concerned about the outs, and that's what I think is really holding up any of our dealings coming in, is that we can't get anybody out. I honestly believe there's not many suitors for who we want rid. I'm sure in general most of us want rid of Mustafi, Koscielny, maybe both left backs, Xhaka, El Neni, Mickey and Mesut. And that's what I'd want to. That to me would be a successful window, is getting rid of that lot. Even if we didn't bring anyone in and just replaced them with youth and took a swing of the bat, and all right, we could take a backward step, but we're more likely to take a forward step with that lot than watching this shower of shit every year in, year out. Completely putting faith in them and just being let down, and seasons ending the same way. So I think just those outs would be a successful window for me. And then if we could bring a few in, I'd be delighted. But yeah, I'm massively concerned that there's no outs. And I think this is the problem when it's obvious a fan base or people want a player out, is that if we can obviously see the shit and we don't want them, why would somebody else want them unless they're not watching Premier League football or ever watching an Arsenal game, and they're completely blind and deaf? I just don't know. So that's the issue for me, and I think maybe the offers we are getting for players we want rid of, they're probably fair offers, but a lot less than what we'd like for these players, and I think we need to turn some decent money on some of the outs to help us get the ins. I don't think we've got a tiny budget, but I think it needs bolstering if we're going to get in numerous ins. So yeah, I'm way more concerned about the outs than the ins, and I reached on it in one of my previous videos that I could easily see us going into next season with Xhaka and Mustafi with Mesut and Mickey part of the first team, with Koscielny, Kolasinac and Nacho part of the first team, because we just can't get rid. Like I said, the only upside to that then is that they've got a year less on their contracts, and they will be leaving at some point because they won't be getting offered a new one. But that's like putting glitter on a shit, and it's still a shit. So it's not really a positive. But yeah, I'm way more concerned about the lack of outs, and like I say, I think they are hugely hindering the ins. And I'm not sure we'll see any ins until we see any outs. I just don't know. Apart from Martinelli. But you could offset that by saying, well, Welbs went, so we've already had an out, and that's how we've gotten in. And I think that's similar, like Cech and Ospina going, we've got Martinez coming back, so that's solved. Lichy and Jenko both going. Do we just roll with Chambers at right back or Ainsley there until Hector's fit? I don't see us bringing in a replacement right back this window, because I just don't think it's high enough up our list of priorities. But Bielik coming back, I see him as a backup centre back for this year. Chambers coming back, so we could get rid of El Neni and just use Chambers as to take his spot. Like I say, the only outs that I'd really want us to see go out and replace is if we got rid of Mickey, I'd want a winger in, and I want a winger in regardless. If Mesut went, I wouldn't really be asked about a replacement. I'd rather let Iwobi move centrally, or Emil Smith-Rowe have a go, and go for that Ozil Rambo role, or maybe Willock or Ainsley. Let one of them lads have a do at it. The other one is Xhaka. If Xhaka was to go, I'd want a really decent box-to-box midfielder to replace him. But yes, whoever asked that, yes, I am way more concerned. I was waffling a bit there, but yeah, I'm way more concerned about the lack of outs than the lack of ins at the minute. How do I side on people in the club and giving them abuse? I've drawn on this so many times. I can't stand it, and it's a sign of a complete fucking idiot for me. You know, if there was some sort of litmus test for what your IQ is, and if it's below 10, see if you've ever tweeted the club saying, "Better spend some fucking money, KroenkeOut, go and fuck yourselves. Don't tell me it's Gunner's birthday, announce a player, you pricks." You know, if you've tweeted something like that, grow up, because you're embarrassing yourself. You know, I had to chuckle that people, the main reason for people's anger at the minute, especially, you know, with this whole KroenkeOut movement and anger towards him, is about doing shit business, and he's allowed, you know, Casillas and Arsenal to have free reign, and they've let us down doing really bad deals and not really protecting our future or our assets. You know, and I've got people saying, well, I'm sick of the club, they only ever do shit business. And then these same people are the ones that are saying, well, we should just pay 25 million for Tierney and get on with it. So you want us to stop doing shit business by doing more shit business? Do you? Like, where's the sense in that? You know, I've been bantering with a guy this morning that's given me shit about it, about, well, they should have just been a Celtic fan, should have just paid 25 million for Tierney, get on with it. Why? See, it's not like Celtic are in a really strong position where they can turn down money and big money. You know, they could play a fucking traffic cone at left back and get away with it in that, you know, Dossers league. You know, no disrespect, but it's a Dossers league. You know, Celtic are a massive club, I'm not taking away from that, but they're a big club, you know, they're a big fish in a tiny pond, and they're never going to get out of that, so they're always going to have this, you know, this superiority complex sort of thing, and they need to get past it. You know, and that's terrible business. And just, you know, I've been a salesman. I've never in my life could just straight away, even in my personal life, just offered somebody what they want for something, unless I feel like they're undervaluing it massively. And I feel like they're valuing Tierney at about the right money. So why would we not try and play hardball? At the end of the day, we've already got 2 left backs. So do we want a third one before we can get rid of one of those 2? I'm not so sure. And then, you know, then we go into the season, if we can't get rid of one, with 3 left backs, we're paying the best part of 300 grand a week between them, and one of them is definitely just going to be collecting a wage for fuck all. So I don't agree with that. So I don't believe we're in any massive rush. Would I have liked Kieran Tierney in the day after the Europa League final? Yes. Would I rather have him in any aspect rather than not at all, even if it means transfer deadline day? Yes. So I'm pretty cool about this situation. And like I say, I applaud the fact that the club are trying to do good deals. We get squeezed to shit when we're trying to sell someone, so why would we not do the same in return? You know, look at it 2 ways. What would you be more mad about? Arsenal, right, Celtic, how much do you want? 25, we'll give you 15. Or we want 25, we'll give you 17. Or we want 25, we'll give you 19. And then they start thinking about it once we edge closer. Or we go straight in there and Celtic, how much do you want? 25 million. Alright, here's 25 million. And Celtic turn around and go, ha idiots, we'd have took 15. I know which one would piss me off more. So I don't have any complaint. Most of you are complaining about us doing bad business. So we're now attempting to do clever, hard-working business, and you're still complaining. So where does the club go from there? What more can they do to make you happy? Just spend some fucking money. Something like that. And that's where we've got caught out in the past, so I just can't buy into that theory at all. And like I say, those type of fans are the same ones that I'm saying I can't identify with. I just find you embarrassing, and I wish I didn't share a club with you, because you're using the logic of a 3-year-old, and that's not something I can get behind at all. Is Emery the right man for the job, or just a stopgap? Oh, great question. I think that's a bit of a double-edged sword. I think he was brought in as a stopgap, definitely. But I think that was done with the potential for him to become a long-term successor, depending on what sort of level of success and goals he can achieve while he's here. You know, we only gave him that 2-year contract, so we protected ourselves from being stuck, you know, and going down the Chelsea route of spending more on getting rid of managers and compensating them than they are on buying players. you know, we don't want to do that where we're losing 10 million a year sacking managers left, right and centre. I certainly don't. I'd rather give managers a chance to prove they're either good enough or not good enough than on a whim start getting rid of them and bringing other ones in, and just that level of inconsistency is not going to help us. You know, for our project the way it is at the minute, I think we needed somebody like Unai that could sort of look at it logically, and this needs to go, this needs to stay, this has to happen, you know, and the way we're working things backroom with that type of manager that will, you know, he's, as we've been told numerous times now, his focus is purely the first team and on pitch and training, and that's it. But like I say, I do think if he surpassed expectations, he would be given another contract and be seen as a more of a long-term solution. You know, it depends what your goals were at the start of the last season, whether you believe he's done a good job or not. I think he's done an alright job, because I didn't expect top four and I didn't expect us to win the Europa, so I was quite happy once you sit back and take a look, you know, that we were only a point or two off top four, and we were in a Europa League final. Just a shame we didn't turn up, or, you know, one of those games near the end of the season we didn't land either, but that to me wasn't his fault. That was personnel on the pitch letting him down. You know, I don't feel he could have done any more at that point, and that's just weak, spineless players. And the problem I have with this squad that let us down there, not Unai. You know, and I'm not going to get on the debate about him throughout the season and people talking about he should have used youth in the Europa. I've explained that, you know, that would have been near impossible for him to do, because if he'd have played youth and we'd have gone out in the group stage of the Europa, you'd have all beat him over the head with it. Well, you should have known not to play the youth, they're not up to it yet, you fucking idiot. So he's in a real damned if he doesn't situation at the moment. And depending on what he gets given in this window, I don't expect, if we go into the season now with what we're looking at right this minute, well, if he doesn't land top four and he doesn't win the Europa, I don't believe that's a reason for him to get sacked again, because what are we giving him to help him achieve that? Nothing. You know, a squad that we know isn't good enough, that's, you know, been declining for years now. This isn't a few games and we're overreacting. This is 3 years now of constantly going like that, and some might say longer. So, God, it's interesting, and it's a bit like the KroenkeOut thing for me. You know, if we get rid of Unai, could we get someone in that could do better? Possibly. But on the flip side of that, could we get somebody in that would do a lot worse? Yes. I'm not overly convinced by Unai. I like him, I like what he's trying to do. Do I think he's maybe the right man? Possibly not. But, you know, what do we have to lose finding out? Like I say, if he doesn't quite achieve what we want this year, if that's the goals of top four and Europa, winning it, you know, just some route back into Champions League, then yeah, it'll be disappointing. And maybe that's when they do just go, right, well, you know, we're going to give somebody else the next 2 years to try and do it. You've just not cut the mustard, mate. Or, you know, like I say, well, you know, in my previous video, if he's bombed out before Christmas, maybe we might just go, right, Freddie, take the reins. You take over in interim till the end of the season. Cheers, Unai, for your help, mate. You know, it's just not worked out. You know, we'll give you a good reference wherever you go, mate. Don't worry about that. And then we you know, we spend 6 months looking at you know, an Allegri or someone like that that's just sat on the sidelines at the minute. And that's another thing, is talking to someone who wants to come to our project, that it's not a step up for them, it's someone that would sort of maybe take a step back to then help us go and you know, elevate us both. You know, people talking about Arteta, I don't really look forward to the idea of somebody like that. I don't. You know, no track record at all. Look at United with Solskjaer. He's got no real track record, but more of one than Arteta. And look how badly he's struggling. And I said to some red mates, you know, when they were doing really well, and they were like, "Oh, he's out the wheel," and they were singing on. And I said, "You're going to find out about this guy like you do about anything in life, in the hard times, not in when it's all going easy and it's all, you know, unicorns and daffodils and everything's perfect in the world. It's when the shit hits the fan that you see whether someone's up to it." And he showed for me he isn't, and why United took a massive punt and then they're stuck with him now, you know, because it probably cost them 20 million to get rid of him, and that's the route I don't want us to go down. So yeah, is he the right man? Who knows? I guess we're going to find out a lot more out this year, but as it stands at the minute, yeah, I think he probably is a stopgap signing. Kits and more kits. Do I give a kit or not? Another terrible pun from you guys. My big thing about the kits is, I've seen some of you saying we can't do any deals till we get the new kit. That's completely incorrect. We can do deals, We can sign anyone before we get the new kit. Excuse me, does it make any logical sense to announce it before we get the new kit? No, they're two very different things, guys, very different things. You know, and God, it's a tricky one. I'm a firm believer in that Adidas, they're going to make a massive deal of this new partnership with us, and that they're going to look to do something pretty special for the kit announcement, and I'd be shocked if they don't. And I was trying to think of what would be a big deal that wasn't a signing, and I thought, well, telling us Mesut's got a new contract or Xhaka's going to be captain, I think that would turn us all into rioting right there and right then and wiping our asses on that new kit, no matter how nice it is. Or just setting fire to the Emirates, I don't know. So I can't really think of anything that would get our fan base back on side other than you know, some signings or a signing, or you know, do I think Martinelli in an Adidas kit's going to get pulses racing? No, but do I think, you know, God, I'm trying to think of a name of somebody, but you know, a real big draw player would probably get a lot of fans just quiet again and just quelling the anger for a little bit. But you know, it's a real interesting one, and I think no matter what side of the fence you sit on, we're going to get a definitive answer, because we've only got another week to wait now. So I think hold your anger for another week, and if you're like me, where you believe that we have been holding back on announcing some deals because if we want to do it, you know, coinciding with this new sponsorship with Adidas, we're going to find out in a week. So just hold, you know, slow your roll for a week, and then we'll find out, won't we? And if they don't announce any new players with this new Adidas kit, then alarm bells are going to go off for me, and well, what the fucking hell have we been doing for 6 weeks? You know, and then it starts to make me bring into question Raul, and is he a bit of a Billy bullshitter, and he's just filled us with business jargon, you know, in these interviews, and he's told us what he thinks we want to hear and filled us with shit, because, you know, he laughed off deadline day and saying what a ridiculous idea this is, you know, that clubs would leave it this late. Well, no, we're working on deals 365 days a year, and our business will be done promptly and in an efficient manner. Well, it hasn't so far, has it? And you know, we've not really had any excuses of why we've done nothing yet. You know, and then that for me makes me turn on him a little bit and think, well, maybe this guy is just another one that's been brought in to feed us bullshit like Casillas, and that would be something that would really disappoint me, because I bought his bullshit. I bought what Raul was saying, and I was like, yes, I'm behind this guy. This guy gives me faith that things are going to happen. So I am a little bit disappointed that anything hasn't happened yet, but I'm staying optimistic for another week, and then I will make my judgment. You know, I saw something, I don't know if it was Turkish, I think that's who the guy is, and he was talking about a protest at the launch of the kit at the Armoury, no matter whether there's any signings or not, and that's not something I can get behind. I've always said I was going to give Kroenke, now he's got 100% control this window, or this, you know, the seasons that should pass them, both ends of it, both transfer windows, bookending it, to prove to me that he does care a little bit. And even if it's not that he cares about Arsenal, he cares about his cashola, you know, protecting his money that he's got in the club, and that, you know, he wouldn't let us drop that far, and he would see that, you know, you've got to speculate to accumulate a little bit, and we need to massively speculate at the minute and spend some dough. Well, not so much spend some money, but at least bring in the bodies that we need and get out the bodies that we need to get out. And I'm just not sure, guy. I don't want to badmouth fans, because I can understand the frustration that you would want this guy out. I feel that, I get that, because I'm the same, but it's not just for purely spending money reasons I want rid of him, which I've already gone on about. It's other stuff for me that I just don't like the man. But I think that some of you know, I've seen people saying, well, just don't buy the kit. Well, that's not going to happen, is it? People are still going to buy it, and you know, we've already done that sponsorship deal with Adidas, so we're getting paid no matter what, so that's pointless. You know, then people saying, well, walk out on the 40th minute or whatever of games, or, you know, walking out once the game's kicked off. Well, you've already paid for your season ticket or your match day tickets. So that doesn't make any sense to me. You know, like this sort of protest, I just don't think. No disrespect, because I believe you should be passionate in what you believe in. So I'm behind fans on that front. But these sort of protests, I don't think will even register on his radar. I really don't, and I'm sorry to say that, guys, and disappoint you, but I don't. You know, a few 10,000s of fans hashtagging KroenkeOut on Twitter and not buying a shirt or standing and shouting stuff at the Armory, I don't think it made any difference at all. You know, in an ideal world, it'd be great if we could just say, right, everybody, we all get together and go, right, everyone, no one buy a shirt, no one buy any merchandise, nobody watch the games through, you know, blooming heck, forgot the word. You know, through the channels that are out there, all of us watch an illegal stream of it, so they're getting no revenue from that. You know, nobody go to a game, nobody buy a ticket, nobody buy any merchandise. If we could all guarantee we could all do that, that would hurt him. But we can't, because a lot of people get behind it and they will definitely go and buy a kit next week. They'll all say, yeah, KroenkeOut, and then they'll go and buy a kit next week. Yeah, KroenkeOut will be at the first game of the season or the first home game at the Emirates. So that, in an ideal world, would be great, but it doesn't work like that. I was sat with a couple of mates the other night talking this over about clubs who've managed to get rid of owners that, you know, a fan base as a majority really don't like, or just as a man and an owner, we just don't like this guy. He's a piece of shit as a person, you know, and equally as bad an owner. But I think we've got to go down a different route. You know, I laughed the other day and said about, you know, every fan at the ground wearing a mask of him, you know, with the eyes crossed out, something embarrassing. I think it'll take more than fans walking out or not buying stuff to hurt this guy enough where he'd have to take note. And the only thing I could come up with was TV companies making it where they can't televise our games anymore. That would hurt him. That would hurt him. You know, if all the networks, you know, so say Arsenal first game of the season was on Sky at Newcastle, and all the fans were doing something that was, it made it impossible for them to film the game, that would cause him a massive problem, because the networks would then be saying, well, sorry mate, but have you seen what the fans are doing at the ground? We can't, for legal reasons, show any Arsenal matches anymore. So for the time being, we're going to have to drop you from the network. Now that would hurt him. That would hurt him massively, and that would make him have to make a decision whether, can I ride this out and keep the club with no televised games, or do I sell up and just I take the profit I've made in the club, you know, over my years of being there, you know, we call it a draw. That's the only way I can see it happening. Is doing enough to actually force him out, is that we get TV companies and TV networks to not show games anymore. I don't know how we actually do that, but that's the angle I'd go, and the only feasible one for me, where it would do enough damage quick enough to get rid of him. That's my thoughts on that one. But yeah, as it stands on just getting off the kit thing, you know, like I say, whatever side of the fence you're on, though that kit announcement next week, I think it's going to be a tipping point for a lot of people, where people that don't believe it's got any part in signings are going to go, fucking told you, we've got nothing planned, there's no plan A, there's no plan B, there's no plan D, there's no plan F. Right, let's make a concerned effort now as everybody to get this guy out because he's taking the piss. Or it's also going to get the people like me that are going, well, I think something will happen and we just have to wait. Then if nothing happens, I'm going to go, right, well, what do we do now? Because it's clear we're having the piss taken out of, where again, it's give us some of that for our lovely kits. We've put those little heart emojis in your eyes. You've seen the kits and we're getting your money out of you and we're giving you fuck all back. So, ha ha, we've, you know, Nelson out of the Simpsons, ha ha. We've stiffed you again, and you mugs, you know, you're just relentless for it. We can just keep bending you over, making you touch your toes and asking you how deep you want it, and you just keep enjoying it, but then moaning about it on the side. So we'll see, but you know, I'm sure there'll be some sort of headline next week if it's all gone kits up or something like that, you know. Do Arsenal fans give a kit anymore, or some sort of shite pun will be dropped in there, probably be from the Sun as well. That's that one anyway. Arnie's back in town. Are you happy? Well, he is back in town, isn't he? But I feel like somebody else is riding in on a horse and he's sort of swinging off its bell end, and that's how he's made his way back. I couldn't give it. The only reason I'm gutted, he blocked me a while ago because I called him out, just being a mouthpiece for the club and, you know, not actually doing any real journalism. And he blocked me. And the only thing that bothered me about I never read into what he said anyway. because it was usually just before the club announced stuff, and he was just a mouthpiece for the club. The thing for me was just that I couldn't see the gifs and the memes anymore when, you know, he said something about a signing and then you all posted those hilarious things. That's all I really miss him for. I couldn't give a flying shit about this guy anymore. You know, I asked somebody, because I said, all right, go on then, somebody send it, mate, let's have a look at what he said. And I had to chuckle instantly because his tweet started with previously reported. So he's just taking stories from other people. He's got no in at the club anymore. I've been saying this for ages. That's why I've discredited him, because he's got no in at the club. I know that. There's no journos that have gotten in at the club anymore. None. It got stopped. When Casillas and Arsenal went, that shit stopped. So I don't give any credit to anything he says. He's just in the swamp with the rest of them now. You know, in the quicksand, fighting his way out to come up with anything. And the only reason why he's more relevant than the Nico Shearers, all the rest of it, because he built up some clout by being, you know, the Arsenal ventriloquist dummy. So I don't give what he says much clout, to be honest. I don't pay any attention to anything he says anymore. He's just as relevant as the rest of it. What he says is as factual to me as reading the Metro or the Sun. So no, don't give a flying shit. I'm just happy for Dave in one respect, because he'll be able to sit down a lot easier now, and he'll be saving a fortune on lube from not having somebody at the club's hand up his arse working his mouth anymore. So I'm happy for you in that respect, Dave. Just stay off my timeline, because I can't be doing with you, gimp. That's that one. Just on that one, honestly, just follow MrArsenic and just see him filter all the bullshit for you. Stop rating these shit accounts that are just making up bullshit, you know. I'm sure Xhaka's cousin's now got 10,000 more followers than he had last week because people believed it. I'm really falling out of love with a lot of you that follow these accounts off a cliff that only fill you with shit. You know, and none of you ever question it, where, you know, I've seen 3 of the biggest bullshitters last week talking about, this is why I did that last Gunner talk, where they said we'd agreed wages with Carrasco, we'd agreed wages with Saliba. That's, as I keep saying, illegal. And then they've come out this week and said, well, we've not actually made a bid for these guys. So why are you still following them when you've had the proof that they're just lying to you, just reeling you in because they know you're a clickbait merchant, and you're a clickbait bumder, and you buy it every time, and they're just laughing at you guys. And Twitter and all this and transfer windows would be a lot more fun if you all stop retweeting every sort of bullshit that comes under your nose. You're like a little piece of cheese going, you know, Monty the Cheese Mouse out of what were they called, the Mice Rescue Rangers or whatever they were, and he used to, you know, Cheese would go past and his moustache would curl up and then he just floated to that's what you lot are like with a shite transfer rumour. You just start levitating and following it. It doesn't matter how much sense and who posts it, you know. So some of you 12-year-olds have got you on strings just rewording something from shite publication. Just embarrassing, guys. Sort it out, because I'm losing all respect for so many of you. Next one, Nelson got to go in the England under-21s last night. Did you watch it, and what did you think? I did watch it. There was, you know, I knew it was a bit of a nothing game, but I did want to watch some young England players and, you know, get a bit more of an idea about some of them, you know, not just Arsenal players. You know, and the choices apart from that was hang myself from the light fitting on the landing or watch Love Island. So you know, I went for the only logical choice. I enjoyed his performance. I thought, how refreshing is it nice to watch a winger who puts defenders on the back foot. He's proactive, he runs at people, he's got great pace and trickery. He seems to know what the right pass is instinctively as a winger, which we've not had in such a long time. I found that really refreshing and enjoyable to watch. You know, and as an Englishman as well, as this is, you know, Arsenal could have a future England player that could get us excited, and, you know, I don't feel like we've had one of them in a long time. I can't even think of the last one we had. That's even upsetting. Yeah, I can't even. God, I've just thought about that. I can't even think of one. Good England players. I'm going back to Sol Campbell and Ashley Cole here. You know, Wiltshire, Theo don't really count. They weren't exciting, were they? I don't know, but getting back to Reece, I did enjoy his performance, but it wasn't all perfect for me. The one big thing I did notice about his performance when they lost the ball, they were getting counter-attacked. He wasn't doing his graft defensively, and that does concern me. Going off what Unai is trying to do, which is a full team press, high intensity stuff. Do we have good enough fullbacks where we can leave them in constant 2v1 scenarios, in the hope that we break again and then we've got 1 against or 2 against 1 going the other way? Not for me. And his reputation isn't big enough yet where we could afford him that role, that you just do what you do in the attacking sense, and we'll get somebody else to do your share of dirty work. He's not someone that's in our first team. If he was in the first team and he's getting 10 plus goals a year and 10 plus assists a year, I'd say, right, all right, somebody do his dirty work for him, because he's too important. But he's not at that position in his career yet, so he'd have to do more for me to be a first team starter, and that was disappointing to see in his game. But maybe that was the role he was given under Boothroyd. Maybe he was told not to do too much. So I don't know how much you can read into it. But that was the negative from what I watched last night. Another positive that I noticed was I didn't recognise him at first. The last time I got to see him in the flesh for us was pre-season last year, and he looked like a 15-year-old. He looked like a very flimsy kid, like an empty tracksuit, a real shell of a man. But I struggled to pick him out last night straight away, and I was like, is that Reece? Is it not Reece Nelson? Then it sort of, when he looks like he's filled out a lot. He looks like he's matured a lot over the last year. He looks taller as well. I'd love to know whether he has actually got taller or I'm just imagining it. But he did. He looked more. I'm not saying he was stacked, but he looked more. He'd filled his frame out. He'd matured a bit, and that gave me reason for optimism that Germany over there, whether he was playing in the first team, he's still doing their drills, and that interview where he said, they'll kick the shit out of you in training over there. They don't mess about, it's serious. So maybe he has matured a lot, and I was pretty hopeful about him as a bit part player for this season anyway, so this just fuels the fire for me. And yeah, he's definitely someone that should be getting game time. I'm not saying as a starter, but starting some games definitely. I want to see him get more than 20 appearances, from starting or off the bench. He needs that for me this year, and he'd definitely start all of my Europa and Carabao Cup games, definitely. Staying on the young player theme, am I really angry about young players that we've let leave for meagre amounts of money, i.e. Jeff and Serge Gnabry? No, guys, it don't bother me in the slightest, because you're talking about very different situations here. You see Gnabry, like Jeff, I'm sure this rumour that somebody wants to pay 20 million for him has made people lose the shit, and then Gnabry getting Bayern's Player of the Year has made people lose the shit, and what have we done? What a cock-up. It was a cock-up, but not in the respect of did we let someone go that was too good. It's a tricky one, because there's no guarantee that if these guys had stayed at our clubs they'd have been doing as well as they're doing at the moment, and neither of them are actually blowing me away. I've watched Jeff a few times for France in the under-21s, and he's been a passenger in the games, not really done a lot, not really made me think shit we should have kept hold of him. I wanted to keep him, same with Serge, but we didn't. We've moved on from that. I'm not a hindsight FC supporter at all. I'm all for letting bygones be bygones, and we just move on. And if we are pining for these sort of players, well, we really have had a big fall from grace. When Gnabry was with us, we were being told by Tony Pulis he wasn't good enough for West Brom. Obviously, Arsene didn't rate him enough. He had injury problems. So I wasn't shocked that we didn't get a lot of money for him. And I am sort of shocked he's Bayern's Player there, because he's not really blown me away this year either. I sort of put his level of performance at the moment on par with a Walcott. I don't see anything mind-blowingly brilliant for him. I don't. I just see a just above average player at the moment. So I'm not losing the shit over it, and I don't really care, to be honest. And the same with Jeff. If these two things hadn't have happened, none of you have been mentioning them. But because somebody again in the media has filled you full of shit, you've lost the plot. And it's all about building value, getting experience for youth players and building value. So I look more at the youth players that we've got now and not making the same mistakes. So your Smith Rowes, your Willocks, your Ainsleys, your Eddies, your Guendouzi's to a point. How can these guys, whether they turn out to be good enough or not, the only way it works for the club is by them getting exposure. Because if we've got an Eddie Nketiah like last year, who's playing you know, coming on as a sub 5 times and getting 1 start and scoring 3 goals, he's never going to be worth more than 10 million. But if he's getting 10 appearances and he's scoring 10 goals, he's worth 20 to 30. And whether we rate him or not, it helps the club because we're bringing money back in. And that's the same where we're at that point now with a lot of these young lads, where even if we don't want to build the club around them, we need to give them the chance this year to find out whether we should or not. Because then at least at the end of next year we'd go, right, well, you know, Eddie, Reece, Emile Smith-Rowe, Joe, Guendouzi, Ainsley, they've all had 20 appearances, so it's much easier for a buying club to judge them. It's much easier for us to judge whether they're up to it or not. And then at least there's a value there, there's an intrinsic value in the fact that they've played and there's experience and there's something to people to judge on. You know, you look at, if you're employing someone at a CV, you're going to employ someone with one full of experience and one that's just completely blank and it just lists the GCSE qualifications. So that's where we're getting it wrong, is we're not giving him enough exposure to build some value, and then we can make a decision and it works for us either way. Either we've got a really good young player or we've got a good young player that we don't quite think's good enough but we can get 20 million for. And I believe we could get 20 million for all these guys if we give them some games next year, whether we want to keep them or not. So that's how I see it. I look more at the future than at the past. And like I say, rather than thinking let's not do let's bring Jeff back, let's bring Serge back, why don't we look at let's just not do the same with Eddie, Emile, Bakayo and Reece and all the rest of them. So that's how I look at it. Financially, we can't compete with the Manchester clubs, etc. money wise. What youngster excites me the most? God, that's a tough question. I'm going to be a fence sitter and say no one. Because there's a lot of them that excite me. I watched a lot of the youth stuff last year. John Jules, Balogun, Saka, Amici, even Zesh Medler, some of the other lads, Sheaf. Some of the sort of more unknowns excited me quite a lot, and I think they've got a big future. And this is a big part why I want youth integrating into the first team, because I think we've got a big crop. Excuse me, I've got hiccups all of a sudden. A big crop of them. I don't think we've just got sort of one to integrate. I think we've got sort of 4 or 5 we should be giving games, or getting them out on good loans where they're stepping up from youth football and we're finding out, and they get good exposure at a decent level championship club, or one of those type of leagues, Dutch league, or maybe not the absolute pinnacle leagues, but decent teams at least. That's where I'm looking. So I can't really pick someone that excites me the most. Leave that one with me because I'm really struggling. The thing for me that this season that excites me the most is that how some of them are going to progress. So I see Willock, Ainsley, Eddie and Gwendo getting good game time this year, whether that's at our club or at another one, getting good first team experience this year. So that actually excites me, is seeing these lads progress. And then obviously that next little group of youth that we might integrate this year or the following year, if they've been out on loan this year, that's what gets me excited. You look, Joe Willock looks like he's ready now to make an impact. Ainsley, for me, he's the most exciting one for me, with Guendouzi. But we've got to stop playing him as a right back because he's never going to fulfil his potential there. And I think I'm a massive fan of him, and I think he's got huge potential in a midfield role as a box-to-box player if we just give him the chance. But whether we're going to do that, I don't know. But if we don't, I hope he leaves and he goes and furthers his career somewhere else because he deserves it. Same with Eddie this year. If we don't, like I said in one of my previous videos, if we don't give him the chance, somebody else will, trust me. A good championship club would take a punt on him. A newly promoted Premier League side would take a punt on Eddie because he's got that natural goal scoring ability. And in a team that works hard, I think he'd come up trumps. So that I'm excited to see this year is the progression of those 4, possibly 5. And they're what I would like to see definitely integrated in this year. Eddie, Reece, Joe, Gwendo and Ainsley. I'd like to see them being a big part of our first team this year. Emile, I think, needs another loan. I'd like to see probably Saka go out on loan if he's not going to get any games at us. Amici, he's a tricky one because of his contract setup. He might take some talking to stay, but he's massively exciting. Who knows, guys? Who knows? I'm sorry because that's not really answered your question. I've sort of been a politician about and gone off on a tangent where I've not really answered your question, but that's all I could do on that one. Right, that's it for questions, guys. Sorry I've waffled on a bit, but that's the questions done with. Let's get on to the really boring stuff, the transfer bullshit, and I'll rate it. Florian Thauvin, the latest one for us to get mentioned with. I think this is more somewhat sort of similar. I don't really think there's a ton in it, to be honest. I think it's more the fact that people, again, are putting 2 and 2 together and coming out with 5. I think this is more just down to the fact that people know we want to buy, and the fact that Marseille need to sell. He's not someone I'd do a dance about if we sign him, but I wouldn't be disappointed either. He just wouldn't be my idea of what we need. Not saying he couldn't be, it's just not my idea of what we need. But you know, if we could do a really cheap deal with Marseille because they need money, I'd be for it. So I don't know on that one, but for me that's out of 10 at the minute. It's just, you know, it's not getting off the ground. Wilf Zaha, he's coming about doing the right. I just don't want him. He's not someone, you know, I've told some of you guys through my personal experience working in it that I know for a fact this guy is a nightmare behind the scenes and to deal with as a person. So he's just not. That's not somebody I want when I'm desperate for us to kick Butlins FC in the arse and get rid of it and kick it into touch. You know, Holiday Camp FC. I don't want someone who would treat it like Holiday Camp FC to be our flagship signing. So no, I don't want Wilf Zaha, and I don't think there's much legs in this either. I don't think we'd be looking to pay any more than 40 million for him, even if we were really interested. Izzo, centre back. This is one that's cropped up. He's a player I don't know a ton about. I'm not going to pretend, like I told you guys, if I know about a player I'll try and tell you a bit if you don't, but he's one I know next to little about, so I'm not going to crack on about it. But he's again another sign of a young, exciting, you know, prodigal centre back that could, you know, be a mass improver and help us for a long term and be a long term solution. So I'm all for it if he's good enough. You know, numbers sort of 20 to 25 mil, I think that's about right. So there could be some legs in that. But for me, because I don't know much, I can only rate that as a 1 at the minute. Todibo was an interesting one where I saw his agent talking about, you know, they'd be looking to get him out on loan. Barca loan him out if they keep with the same centre-back setup they did last year, and maybe if they had De Ligt, they'd be further down the pecking order. He's someone I would be massively interested in because he's someone who I've watched quite a bit and he does get me excited. But not on a loan. If we were to loan a centre-back in, I'd want it to be Umtiti, not Todibo. I'd want an experienced loan centre-back in. So yeah, that's a non-starter for me with regards to us. I could see him going out on loan, but I'd be amazed if it'd be us, because why would we build value in a young centre-back for somebody else? We're better off doing it for us, so no. The comical ones, the next two, Saliba and Carrasco. You know, the ones that these kids on Twitter have been telling you have already agreed contracts. Yeah, alright. As I told you guys, what factual information have we had? No bid. We've not actually bid for Saliba, and we've not actually. Carrasco's agent has told us we weren't the club that bid for him, which I told you we weren't the English club that had bid for him. So there you go. They're the facts. So all these kids that you follow on Twitter that have told you that they've met, go back and look, and if they've told you these have agreed wages, do yourself a favour and unfollow, or call them out for being bullshit merchants. And why would they want to do that to fellow Arsenal fans? Because they're as bad for me as the ones that buy it. You know, it's just fucking embarrassing. And I told you so. And I don't like being a smug bastard, but I will do it when I'm in the right. And I told you that is tapping up, guys. It's illegal. You cannot agree wages with a player before you've agreed a fee with a club. And we haven't agreed any fees with any clubs, so we haven't agreed any wages with any players. They can say, well, it won't be a problem. You know, like I've said about Kieran Turner, I don't see his wages being a problem. Doesn't mean we've agreed any. And I won't believe we have agreed any until I see that Celtic have agreed a fee with us. So, and like I say, just told you so. Stop following these kids on Twitter that are winding you up on a daily basis. You're buying into it. You're too irrational. You can't handle it. You know. So just stop. Do yourself a favour. And yeah, I don't like being proved right, but I do. And you know, I'll just have to notch that one up on the bedpost as a win for Si. But it's not really a win because all I'm winning is that I'm not as irrational as other Arsenal fans, which isn't a personal achievement, but I'll take it. Nicholas Pep is still doing the rounds, and a few clubs have sort of withdrawn their interest. Now, he is a tricky one for me, because I believe that we could sign somebody like him. I believe we have got the clout to do that sort of signing if we wanted to. You know, we could do a deal with them. It's not going to be 70 million up front. I think he can be got for around 60 million euros, is my own personal belief. And I think we could do a deal like that. I'm not saying it's realistic that we're signing, but I keep thinking about this Adidas stuff, and he is an Adidas sponsored player. He would be a very big marquee. You know, would Martinelli get you excited at the kit launch? No. Would Nicholas Pep, you know, a curtain being drawn and Nicholas Pep like that in that new Arsenal kit with lacquer and all, but would that get you excited? Yes, it fucking would. And if it doesn't, then you need to go to the doctors or to the morgue to check for a pulse. And I could see that sort of thing happening, and I mentioned it in a video a few weeks ago where I'm sure it was with Neymar or one of the big, you know, like Galactico signings, whoever his sponsor was, helped chip in. I'm starting to think it was when Ibrahimovic went to United, and somebody helped out. I might be making this up, but it happened with one of the big players, and the sponsor actually chipped in some of the fee because it had helped them. So I wouldn't be shocked if Adidas did help us offset a deal for someone like Nicholas Pep, who is one of their big flagship players and prospective ones for, you know, the next 5 to 10 years if his career goes the way it looks, you know, trajectory wise. So is it a shot in the dark, and am I grasping at thin air at the minute? Yes. But do I think it's completely illogical to believe we could do a deal like that? No. So I do give it a 1 out of 10 for the minute, but I do think it could happen. You know, like I say, with some big clubs, you know, maybe he's looking and going, well, I'm guaranteed first team football there. I'm a player that fans would absolutely adore. You know, I'd be in a front three with Aubameyang and Lacazette. Is that bad? You know, and I could really take the piss in the Europa League. You know, where he might find it a bit harder in the Champions League. I don't know. There is reasons for him to want to come to us. You know, and it is a big step up from where he is now. Although he'd be taking a step down in terms of European football, but club stature, it's a massive step up. So that's an interesting one for me. Perisic, big fat zero. I do believe we were interested in him in January, but that was as a short-term fix and another plaster on a broken limb, as I like to call them. And I don't think we're in a position where we can do those deals anymore, because I think even the club of a hierarchy have realised now, if we keep putting plasters on broken limbs, we're only going one way, and it ain't towards challenging City for the title. It's going towards relegation battles and dreaming of the day we can get back in the Europa. So I give this a complete fat zero. Not happening, and I just don't know where it's coming from. Someone's just obviously been told they've got to print something at work, and this is what they've come up with. That's it for me on the transfer rumour bullshit. Just from my own point of view from football I've watched over the last couple of weeks, Everton Suarez, or Suarez, or I don't know how you say his second name, he's someone who I'm looking at now, and you know, I saw that link to us a while back, and you know, with Edu coming in as director of football, director of finance, whatever that DOF title, at the moment that he's coming in to be director of fuck all, isn't he? Director of fire marshal, you know, putting fires out. That's what DOF stands for at the minute. But you know, this Brazilian link, you know, he could be a big part in getting a player like this, and maybe he was a massive part of getting Martinelli, and maybe he's a big part of getting some more Brazilians, and who knows. But this kid really reminds me of watching Richarlison. He's really direct, pacey, trickery, can finish. You know, he's like a striker out wide. Yeah, I'd love for us to be rumoured again with this guy, because he'd be a massive upgrade on what we've got. Another one that, you know, he's nothing new, but Canate, you know, I've been watching the France under-21s a bit, and you know, that partnership with Upamecano is great. I mean, it'd be great if we could just say to Red Bull, just take El Nene, Mustafi and Koscielny, do us a favour, we'll give you 50 million and we'll have these two. Come on, let's do it. That'd be mind-blowingly good, wouldn't it? You know, going into next season with Tierney, Canate, Upamecano, Bellerin, that'd be fucking great, wouldn't it? But you know, then I'd wake up with my head in my cornflakes. But yeah, I've sort of noticed over the last few games, I always rated Upamecano as the better player, and I think that gap's disappeared for me personally. I would now, if I had a choice between the two, I would go for Canate over Upamecano, but that's just me personally at the minute. And the other bit that just Martinelli's done, innit? I think we've had that definitely confirmed to us now through Instagram and other stuff that he's on his way to us, but we all knew that anyway, so it's nothing new. But you know, a good start to our window. I think he could be anything. This lad will be doing a bit more watching up of him and reading a bit about him from Brazilian football, and he could be anything, this kid, and we've paid next to fuck all for him, so the only way is up in the way he has. So that's it from me, guys. Hope this hasn't, you know, as I always say, dragged like a seal's arse too much. And if you've made it to the end with me, God bless your souls. And like I say, the link at the start for the Gunas versus cancer.com, please have a nosy at that. And guys, make sure your notifs are on for my YouTube channel. Please like this if you've made it to the end. Any questions for next week, comment in the comments. You know, and if you see this pop up on YouTube, on Twitter, come on, quote my tweet, give me a retweet, give me a like, give me anything. You know, I'm at that point, guys. You know, I need some support. I need it, and I need it as much as physically possible and humanly possible. So please help get behind it. That's it. Happy Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever day of the week it is. You know, I'm guessing it might be as shitty where you are as it is here. So if you're a duck, I'm sure you're having a great time. Anyone else, I'm sure it's not so great. But have a quacking rest of your day, I suppose. Take it easy. Signing out.